Hi, my name is Dawn Avers, and I'm a student at Eastern New Mexico University. And today I'm going to be talking about sexual harassment in the workplace. So what exactly is sexual harassment? Sexual harassment is basically any type of unwanted verbal or physical harassment of a sexual nature. And some examples of this are requesting sexual favors for advancement in position or benefits at work, unwanted touching, even a neck rub that is unwanted and makes you feel uncomfortable is considered sexual harassment. Unwelcome sexual advances, inappropriate sexual comments, and even inappropriate sexual related humor that includes you or someone else can be considered sexual harassment. Emails with sexual content from a fellow employee or a supervisor is also considered sexual harassment. And sexual harassment is a pretty big problem. 79% of women say they've experienced some form of sexual harassment throughout their careers. And it's not just women. 21% of men claim to have experienced sexual harassment as well. And that number is on the rise. In past years, the numbers were as low as 16.1% and 17.8%. So that is a growing number among men reporting sexual harassment. And sexual harassment isn't taken as seriously as it is with men as it is with women. A lot of men are skeptical about reporting sexual harassment because men are seen in society as being macho. So when they go to a manager to report sexual harassment, it's usually laughed off. Men are seen as, well, why can't they handle this themselves? Well, they shouldn't have to. In a workplace, it should be the employer's job to handle this situation. Men shouldn't have to be made to feel uncomfortable at work, just like women shouldn't be made to feel uncomfortable at work. It goes both ways. And honestly, both men and women claim to not report sexual harassment for fear of losing their jobs or retaliation. So there's that problem as well. And sexual harassment is a type of discrimination. Sexual harassment violates Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So if your employer does threaten you or retaliates or even fires you, you at that point have the right to seek legal counsel, or you can contact the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and they can tell you what steps you can take at that point, and they can even launch an investigation themselves. One common question is, what can I do if I am sexually harassed at work? What are some steps I can take in reporting sexual harassment? And the first step you can take is look over your employee handbook, the company ethics statement, or the collective bargaining agreement. You always want to look at your company's open door policy for any type of harassment that might happen. And you want to see what the reporting procedures are for anything like that. You want to determine who to go to in case there's any sort of emergency. Second, you're going to want to go to a manager who is neutral and who you can trust. Third, you're going to want to request a meeting with the manager that you chose to report to. You're going to want to set up a meeting with this manager, yourself and the person you're filing the claim against. While you're doing this, you're going to want to file a written complaint as well. You want to have the paper trail. That way it's also in your records and the company's records as well. But the face-to-face meeting will help the manager ask questions to both you and the other person, and it lets both sides tell their story. And lastly, you're going to want to follow up with your employer and document the investigation process. Your employer has a legal obligation to investigate. And and they should keep you informed. However, you might have to ask them for the information. If you have to ask them for the information, document this as well and let your employer know that you're upset with being left out of the investigation process. Your employer, once again, your employer is prohibited from retaliating against you for reporting sexual harassment. Again, you can contact the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and they should be able to launch an investigation into why you were retaliated against, and they should be able to provide you with lawyers that can help you file a claim against your previous employer or current employer as well. Next, what can employers do to help prevent sexual harassment? So, the first thing employers can do to help prevent sexual harassment is adopt a clear sexual harassment policy in either the employee handbook, the ethics statement, or the collective bargaining agreement. You want to make sure that your employees know that there is an open door policy for any type of harassment, so that if something does happen, they can go to you and not be afraid to do so. Second, conduct training sessions for employees and managers. You want your employees to know what constitutes as sexual harassment, and you want your managers to know what to be able to do with the information if they receive it. You don't want them to receive information blindly. You also don't want your employees to be confused about what constitutes as sexual harassment. Also, mingle with your employees. Talk to them. Post posters around the workplace about what is and isn't sexual harassment, what is and what isn't tolerated. Also, take all complaints seriously. Even if after you investigate it goes nowhere, that's fine. At least you investigated, and at least it was nothing. 66.6% of people interviewed were unaware of any policies existing in their workplace. 50.4% of people interviewed in surveys were unaware of a department or manager whom they could approach on the subject of sexual harassment. This is a very high number. I can't stress enough that policies need to be clear and they need to be laid out properly. Going over the employee handbook with your employees, having training twice a year, once a year, these are all steps in preventing sexual harassment. So if we can implement these techniques, we could possibly see a huge decrease in sexual harassment in the future. All we need is a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of training, and we could probably make the workplace a much better place. Thank you.